Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm back as promised to do the second part of the Specimen Paper 2 exam for 2023, and this is the databases part of the exam. So we're going to be working from section 18 until the end of the databases section of the exam. Before I start, just to ask you if you could please, if you find these videos useful and you want to see more, subscribe to my channel, like the video, make a comment of some sort, and give me some commentary so I know what might help you in the future. Yeah, so that would be good. Also, my book, my study guide is available. The link's in my bio for those that want some additional support with preparing for the theory part of the course. Okay, that's that out the way. So let's get started. So the first thing it says, and you have to really read this first sentence because there's some useful information in here in terms of formatting. So it says you are now going to prepare some reports. Make sure all currency values display a currency symbol. So that means wherever you are in the world, it hasn't specified a specific currency, so you can use the default currency symbol that your software, your database software comes with. And you must set that currency to 0 decimal places. So that's the first bit of information you've been given. Then it says using a suitable database package, import the file spo2yachts.csv. So a CSV file is what we call a text file, comma separated values file. When you study the theory part of the course, it also says in my book also that a CSV file can be opened in many different types of software, and it's recognized as a text file. So when we go to import this, we'll be importing it not as an Excel file, but as a text file, because that's the actual file format of this type of file. So let's go ahead and look at the data types and the field names of the data that we're going to be working with. So it says, so here's all the field names of the data that we should have in our CSV file, and these are the data types that we need to set the field names to. And then we've got some extra information for length. It should be 1 decimal place, which is important. I'll talk about that in a minute. And the price, as we already know, it should have a currency symbol and be 0 decimal places. It says that we need to set the yacht ID as a primary key. So I'm going to go ahead and start that process now. I've already gone in and opened Access and opened a new blank database. So to import a file, we go to External Data and we go to New Data Source and from File. So we're going from our source file, which you will have, which has been provided for you. And like I said, we're importing a text file, and then we need to find our file. So we browse for it, and this is where, as I've mentioned before, all your files should be in one place, so it's easy for you to find what you're looking for. And this is yachts. Okay, and here, this is just the original delimited data, separated by commas, as you can see. So we don't need to do anything here. If we go to next, importantly, we've got to make sure that it says that our data is separated by commas. As you can see, it's now put everything in columns. It's separated it by those commas. And then we need to put in first row contains field names, because it does, as you can see at the top there. So now Access has separated that out for us further. Now this is where we've got our field names, and we've got the option, if we go to the Advanced tab here, we can set up our data types. So I'm just going to go back to the question paper and see what they are. So we have yacht, name text, type text, yacht ID text, length is number like I said, build ID is text, price is currency, and then the build year, sleeps and crew are number. So I'm going to go back in and make those changes. Okay, so as you can see here, I've set up the data types as per the question paper. So I'm just going to press OK there. Now the decimal places and the currency format I'm going to do once I've imported the data fully. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I'm going to press next now and choose my own primary key. Remember, so if you choose your own primary key, then you have the option to select, and it was yacht ID that is the primary key for this table, which is this one here. And you press next and then finish. I don't need to save the import steps. So now we want to have a look, open your table and have a look at your data. So we've got the yacht name, the type, yacht ID is there, length is there. If you notice, length is there, but when I imported it, I left it as a double data type, and that's left the 2 decimal places in, and some are integer values. We've been told in the question paper that we need to set this as 1 decimal place. So I'm going to go to fields and I'm going to make sure I've selected length, which I have, and then format we'll keep as it is, but the decimal places we want to decrease so that they're all 1 decimal place. And if you notice, it hasn't rounded up these values, which is what we don't want. We want these decimal places, the original values, to be maintained, but we want to make sure everything is showing as 1 decimal place, which they now are. The other thing is price. We need to make sure that has no decimal places. At the moment it has 2. The currency symbol is there, so I've got the pound sign for my one. So we're going to go ahead and decrease the decimals there, so that's fine. So that's everything formatted. Now we want to go into design view, and because here it's easy to take a screenshot, and what I normally do, I'm going to go on to length, so that I've just clicked on it, so that this general tab down below, you can see that I've set it to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to go ahead and take my screenshot from here. I'm just using print screen, and I'll just go to my evidence and I'm going to put that in here, and then I will crop that in a moment. Okay, so as you can see here, I've taken 2 screenshots. One, obviously you can see all the field names and data types for everything, but one is showing that the length field is 1 decimal place, the other one is showing that the price field is set to currency and it's 0 decimal places. So that way now the examiner can see that I've set all the data types as they should be. Now I'm going to go back to the question paper and I'm going to scroll down a little and just see what the next thing I have to do is. So I've taken the evidence screenshots, that's fine. Now it says step 19, it says we need to examine, so we need to look at this file SPO2 builders and identify the most appropriate field to set as the primary key. Now I'll talk about this once we're actually looking at the file, but there's a couple of things you need to look out for with regards to primary keys. It says then we need to import this file as a new table in our database, format all the data types as text. So yeah, we're going to do that, and then set the identified field to the one that we choose as the primary key, and place in our evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types and the primary key used in the table. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to close this table for now. I'm just going to save, Control S to save, and I'm going to go ahead and go to external data, and I'm going to import the builders file. Same steps as before, and then we can start looking at the data. So I think the first row does contain field names. So we've got builder's name, builder ID, address, place, region, zip code, build country, country code, services, and country ID and telephone. So with a primary key, most importantly, a primary key has to be unique, has to be the thing that uniquely identifies each record in the database. Now, I think with the name, these are the company names, so this could be used more than once. But the ID here, as we can see, well, if I have a quick glance down, that's unique. There isn't a repeating builder ID from what I can see. So that's, for me, based on that premise, that's going to be the most relevant one to use as the primary key. I'm going to go into advanced, and these need to all be set to text. Okay, so they all are, apart from telephone, so we need to change that, and then we can press OK and next, and we're going to choose our primary key, and that's builder ID. So we've set that to what we want, and now we finish. And same as before, I'm going to open this, I'm going to go to the Home tab, Design View, and I want to be able to take a screenshot of this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've put a screenshot of the builders table with the field names, primary key, and the data types visible. Now, when I first went into Design View, I noticed that I couldn't see the telephone field. It was kind of like this, so I couldn't see the telephone field. So I would have had to scroll down to see telephone field, which is not ideal. So what I did is I just adjusted the height of these rows so that they all kind of fit nicely in one screenshot. So let me see, yeah, like that is fine. So if you have that issue, you can adjust the height of your rows so that they all fit nicely in one screenshot, so you're not having to do multiple screenshots and wasting time that way. So that's that. So let's have a look at the next question. So we're on question 20. So it says we need to create a one-to-many relationship between the builder ID fields and place evidence of the screenshot showing one-to-many relationship between the two tables, and we'll talk about that now. So I'm going to go back to my database. I'm going to close this table. You have to have your tables closed before you create a relationship in Access. So we go to Database Tools and we go to Relationships, and that gives us the option to say which tables we want to add. We need both, and we add those, and then we can close this. Alright, so I'm going to just open these out so you can see all of the fields. So it says we need to create a one-to-many relationship. So the yacht builder one yacht builder can build multiple yachts. Yeah, so that's from one builder to many yachts. So the one-to-many relationship, because the builder is one and the yachts is many, we drag the builder ID from builders table to the builder ID in yachts, and you'll see that little cross appears, which tells us that it's ready to create the relationship. And if you click on Enforce Referential Integrity, it will now show that relationship with the number one here, and the infinity symbol obviously means many or multi there. So we've got our one-to-many relationship. So that's what the question means when they say that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my screenshot of this. So I've gone and put my screenshot in my evidence document here, as you can see. Now, as I always say in every video, I always make sure my screenshots are nice and big. Don't worry about the number of pages that your evidence is going to be. Most important thing is that the examiner can see what you've done. And I'm going to actually go ahead and save this now. Right, so we go down to question 21, and it says we need to add this data as a new record in the yachts table, and then check the data entry for errors and save the data. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to close my relationship, and yes, I'm going to save that. I'm going to open my yachts table. Now if you use this little icon here, the arrow with the starburst, it will take you down to the bottom here, and you just simply type in your data. So next. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've added that data in, and I've checked that it's correct, and I've saved my data file. So I'm going to go back and go down to question 22. So now we need to create our report. So we've imported the data, so now we're going to create the report. And this is the bit of the database exam that will take you the most amount of time. So you want to allocate a good amount of time to getting this done so that you minimize any errors. So you can take your time and check. So it says using fields from both tables, produce a tabular report. So a tabular report that selects the records where build year was after 2010 and the length is 40 or less. So it says select. So that word select identifies to me that before we can create a report, we need to create a query so we can select specific data out of our database. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a query first, and then once we get onto once we've selected the data we need, then we can create a report of that data. So I'm going to go back to the database again. I'm going to close this table and I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to use the wizard, and I'm going to add all the fields at the moment from both tables. So this is the yachts table and the builders table as well, because it says that we need to use fields from both tables. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm on the safe side and I'm using all the fields, and then press next. And we're going to modify the design of our query, because this is where we're going to put in what we want to find. So as you can see, you've got your field names in there and the table that that field is from. So we should have yachts and builders in there as well, and they are all in there, as you can see. So now I'm going to go back to the question and check what specifically we need to find. So it says build year was after 2010, so after, not including 2010 but after. So let's go back to the question, to the database, sorry. So build year we need to find, which is here. This is build year, and in the criteria row, see, in the criteria row just underneath the selection box there, we're going to put in what we're looking for. So it said after 2010, so we need to put in greater than 2010. That's how we would write after 2010. And if you just save that, you can always run that and just check that the years are all the years after 2010, not including 2010. Then we go back to the design view and put in our next bit of criteria. So it says now on the length field, the length should be 40 or less. So this time we're including 40, but it needs to be 40 and below. So let's go back to the database, and on length in the criteria row, we're going to put less than or equals to 40 in that order. And then we will again save and run. And we can check the length, so there should be 40 in there, but we shouldn't have anything above 40. It should be 40 and below, and from what I can see so far it is. So let's go back and let's see what the question paper now says. So we've selected the data. Now we have to create a new field that's calculated at runtime. And this field will add sleeps, the sleeps field to the crew field. So we're just adding these two fields together from what it says. So we need to go back to our database, and I'm going to use the builder, and we're going to put in, let me just cancel a minute. I'm going to find a new column first, otherwise it's going to put it in the wrong place. So we need to be here. So I select here, and then I select builder, and then I need to find the fields that I'm adding. So it's sleeps added to crew, I believe. So let me just double check, I don't want to get it wrong. We'll add the sleeps field to the crew field, and the field is called total berths. Okay, so we're going to add sleeps to crew. So here is sleeps, the sleeps field, and we want to add that. So I'm going to go to operators and find add. And as you can see up here, this is where your expression is being built. So sleeps plus Now we need to go back in to our table and find crew. So that's on the yachts table. So I opened the database, I opened the tables, and I went to yachts and I found crews and double click there. So that is the calculation, and if you press OK, that's now put the calculation down here in this new field. What we need to do, it says expression 1, and that's not an error. What that's done is the Access is putting in a default name for your calculation, and that colon must stay there. That's extremely important. That is part of the calculation, and it's telling Access that this is a calculation to be calculated at runtime. The name of the calculation is total underscore births, like that. So that's how your calculation should read, and if we run that, we should now be able to see that calculation. Oops. So here it is, here's the field name, and here's the calculation, and we can check sleeps. Oh, it might be a bit far across. So we've got sleeps, there is 2, crew is 0, so total births, if we've added those together, should be 2, and it is. And if I check a few others, I can see also that the calculation is correct. So yeah, you can check that and verify that, and I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to go back to the question paper and see what we need to do next. So it says shows only the field. So this is now where we're going to start to formulate the report. So we've done all the bits that we need to do in the query. Now we're putting in the fields that need to be visible, and we're organizing the data so it looks and is presented the way it needs to be presented. So we need only these fields now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to start the report. I'm going to close the query, and I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to go to report wizard, and I'm going to go to my query that I've just created. Now that is a new element within my database, and that's where my calculated field is. So this is what I need to base my report on. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm now going to use the arrow key here. We're not going to use the double arrow because that will add all the fields in to the report. We only need the selected few. So I'm going to use the single arrow, and I'm going to add in the fields that I need. So I need yacht name, builder name, type, length, price. So yacht name, builder name, we need type, we need length. So as you can see, this is how we would do it. So I've gone ahead and I've added all the fields that need to be visible in the report. So I've done that, and I'm going to press next. Now it says that we don't want to group this data, so we're not categorizing this report by any specific field. All the fields should be on the same level. And then it says we need to sort the data into ascending order of type and descending order of length. So we're not grouping, no grouping going on. Ascending order of type and descending order of length. So descending, we click here to change that, and it's a tabular report as we read at the very beginning, and it should be landscape orientation. And I will go back, so it says landscape there. It should be on a single page wide, and it includes the heading yachts less than 15 years old. So I'm going to put my heading here. Obviously you won't be able to copy and paste in your exam, you'll have to type it, but you can type it here, and then we're going to finish. So here is our report. Now we need to make some editing changes to this because it doesn't fit on a single page wide at the moment, and some of the data isn't visible. So you're going to spend a bit of time here adjusting this, and also we need to make sure that this is in the correct field order. So it should be in this order. As you can see, it says in this order, so it must be there. So you would probably get at least 1 mark for making sure that your field names are in the correct order. So I'm going to show you how to make adjustments to this. So I normally close the print preview and then it will open up the design view. We don't need the field list, so I'm going to close that. And in here is where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that space. So I'm going to move the page header, the report header up, so that heading is bigger, and I'm going to maybe change the colour of that, or maybe I'll just leave it for now. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can change the colour to black just so it stands out a bit more. And then I can actually make adjustments to my fields here. But what I find most useful is to do this in layout view. So in here you can actually move your fields around. So I need to have a look at what goes first, but I think this field is a bit wide. I don't need it as wide as that. Length. You can use the arrow keys just to move things along and make adjustments there. So you want to make sure everything's aligned, which is what I'm going to do. So even this label box there is a bit too long. Now the name, I don't know how long these names are. I'm just going to have a quick look down. I think that's the longest one, so we can adjust this box a little bit as well to about there. This one I think we'll leave like that because that's quite a large field. I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to move this over too. And this field here we need to open out. That's too small. And this is basically what you need to spend your time doing. You need to make sure all the fields are visible, all the headings are with the data, which I need to do. And that, see, like here for example, this box needs to be open so that you can see the field names, and you want to move everything over so that these fields, the headings are visible and everything can be seen one page wide only. It shouldn't go over onto 2 pages horizontally. So I'm going to go ahead and make those changes now. Do it using the steps that I just used. Okay, so I had to spend a bit of time, quite a bit of time, adjusting this report so that all of the field names are in the correct order, the same as the exam. And then I had to make sure that none of the data was overlapping, that it all fits on one page across, as you can see here. And then when I scrolled down to see the bottom of my report, some of the data was overlapping, so I had to go back and make further adjustments to it. So you really need to make sure that you take your time making sure the data is visible. You don't want to lose any marks because you haven't moved one field over properly. The next thing we need to do, I'm just going to go into design view. What I did was I showed in the video, I adjusted the report header. So now all my data fits on one page. Before, the report header was down slightly like this, but because I brought it up, it meant that all the data fits on one page. It says that your name should be on every page of the report. Mine is only 1 page because I made the adjustment, but some reports are 2 or 3 pages. It can happen. So we've got 4 sections in here. We've got this report header, which is this section with the heading, the page header, which is the field names, the detail, which is all the data itself, the page footer is the information that's at the bottom of every page, and then you have the report footer, which is actually closed on this one, and this data will be on the last page of the report. We need to put our name in the page footer. So I'm going to use a label, not a text box. This is a text box, and this is what we use for calculations. We need to use a label, and I'm just going to put that here. Sometimes the question paper specifies where your details should be, but this exam hasn't, so you can put that, as long as it's in the page footer, that's fine. So I'm just going to save that and go back to layout view just so you can see. So it should be at the bottom of my page. Here it is. And you can make adjustments to it. You can make it bigger if you want to. I'm just going to show you in print preview what it looks like. So you want to check, and it's actually on 2 pages, but there's nothing on the second page. So That's it, that's fine, that's what we'll print. Of course, when you print it, you can actually do a physical check of it then. Some people find it easier to find errors on an actual printed copy. You can do that, feel free. You can use as many printouts as you need to check your work, so I would advise you check it carefully. If you need to go back in and make some changes, then do so. So the next part of the exam, so it says save and print the report, so you'd print at that stage, and then we'll be on to question 23, which is another report. So I'm going to go ahead and have a look at that. Okay, so in this report, you're going to again use fields from both tables, and you're going to produce a tabular report again, same as the first one. And it says again select, so we're going to create a query here where the country code is NZ or AU and the builder name includes the text yacht. So I'm going to go ahead and have a look at that now. Now, to save time, I've already created the query, same as the first one, and it says the country code, which is here, should be only the codes NZ or AU. So it should be written like that, exactly as it's written in the question. So the OR is an actual mathematical operator, or and NZ is the code for New Zealand, AU is the code for Australia. So the Access database has already distinguished between NZ or an AU. It's put quotation marks around the actual data itself, and it's left the expression without, because it recognizes that that is a expression that's used in Access. The other thing we need to do is it's builder name contains, I believe, builder name includes the text yacht. The word include there means that yacht could come anywhere in the builder name. So it could be, let's have a look at the database. Let's look at the data. So I'm just going to save what I've done. And if I have a look at the data, so we've got Havana Yacht Builders, we've got Miller Yachting. They should both come up in our result because the word yacht is included in both those names. It doesn't have to exclusively be the word yacht alone. We have yachting, we have yachtera. They should all come up in our result. So let's do that now. So I'm going to go back to design view. Okay, so on builder name, now you use the wildcards, which is the asterisks or the stars, you could call them, or the multiplication symbol on your keyboard. It looks like that. This is what we need to put around the word yacht. This will ensure that anywhere that the word yacht appears in that field will be pulled out of our results. So it could have a word before yacht, hence the reason we've got the asterisk before yacht. It could come after yacht, and also the word yacht could be in the middle of a word itself. So this way, by putting the wildcard, we call it, or asterisk either side of the word yacht, you're making sure that yacht will be included anywhere in your results. So let's just check that that works. So as you can see, we've got yacht here, yachting, yachtera, as we looked at before, island, North Island yachts, and so on. So it's given us anywhere builder name includes the words yachts, which is what we wanted. So let's just save that, and then we're going to go on to create the report. So I'm going to open the report wizard as I did before, and then show you what to do there. Okay, so I've opened the report wizard. First thing you've got to do is make sure you've got the correct query selected, because you've got two now. So it should be the builder's query. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the field names that we need. So we need yacht name, builder name, type length price, and build country. Same as before. So yacht name, there it is. These are not going to be in the correct order. We're going to have to make adjustments once the report is created. So it doesn't really matter the order that you put them in. So type, length, price, oops. build country we need as well. I think that's it. Yacht name, builder name, type, length, price, and build country. Yeah, so that's it. Again, we don't need to group the data. We need to sort the data into descending order of price, and this one should be in portrait orientation. So next, we're not grouping here at all, and it's in descending order of price, descending, and it should be portrait. It's a tabular report, so we can leave that like that, and the title is Oceana Boat Builders. And then we're going to finish. So again, we need to make our adjustments to this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close the print preview, and I'm going to open layout view, and I'm going to go ahead and put these in the correct order by moving these over like this. So this takes a bit of time and patience, so we'll just make those adjustments now. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've adjusted the report, so I've put everything in order. I've made sure everything's visible. It's on a single page wide, and it's portrait, and I've checked it all the way down. It's on one page. The next thing we need to do is, it says calculates the average length in this selection and positions this number below the length column, and the average length should be to a value of 1 decimal place. The heading we've done in a larger font, and we need to put our details at the top or bottom of the report. So if we select the length first, which is this data, and we go to totals and average, it should then put the average calculation here, as it has done, directly below average to 1 decimal place. Now if we go into design view, again in the page footer, or it says you could put it at the top if you want to. So I'm just going to move these over, and I'm going to put in my label with my details on here. Again, I'm doing this just in case, just in case there's more than one page. My candidate number, I'll just put in like that. Center number, I'm just making it up because I don't want to write out a long description there to take up a lot of space. So then we can check that. So then those details are there, and if there was 2 pages, those details would be on both pages as well. So that's that. So then you would print that report. So that's your second report that you print. Then I think this is the last bit of the databases question. So it says we need to export the report created in step 23 into a portable document format, which is a PDF. Save the exported file in your work area. Place in your evidence document a screenshot to show the exported file saved in your work area. Make sure there is evidence of the file type. So let's go ahead, and step 23 is the report we just created. So we need to save that, or export that, sorry, in as a PDF. So let's go ahead. Okay, so to export a file, you need to select the file first. So these are all the things we've created or imported and manipulated. So the report that we're going to export is the Oceana Boat Builders 1 here. So I've selected it, and then I've gone to external data, and then you'll see the section called export is here, and you've got PDF or XPS, and then here is the type PDF. You want to make sure that it's in your folder with all your other files. So this is my folder here, and I'm going to press publish, and here it is in PDF format. So it's here. What we need to do is show evidence of it saved in our folder. So here it is, and the format is here. So you can see it's a PDF here. So I've just changed that to view, and I've put content. If you put it as list, it doesn't show. So it needs to be content details, it does show us the type, but to me, I'd feel more comfortable for the examiner to see that it actually says PDF. So I'm going to take a print screen of that and put that in my evidence document. Okay, so as you can see here, I've taken my screenshot, I've cropped it, I've resized it so it's really clear. And that's the last bit of the databases question for this exam. I hope it was useful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like to see, specifically with regards to databases. If there's anything I haven't covered or you feel I could go over again, let me know. If the video is useful, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can see any new content that I come out with, and I will see you again for the third part of this specimen exam. So yeah, see you then. Good luck.